Good morning, everybody. This is Jim with Compliance Professionals. Guys, I need to talk to you today a little bit about accident prevention. We have some people getting hurt for, I would say just silly reasons many times. They're not careful about some of the things that they're doing, and it's also leading to back problems. So let's kind of go over some of the rules of accident prevention, why things happen. Many times people just, aren't paying attention. They get distracted. They're thinking about a football game in a few days. They're wondering about a project maybe that they're working on at home. And sometimes their mind just really isn't on the job looking at safety. So you can't become distracted. You have to know what you're doing. You have to get your plan right out in front of you. You have to use the good old 5-second rule, which, that's not dropping an Oreo on the ground and picking it up. That's take 5 seconds, think about what it is you're going to be doing, look around, do I have all my tools, am I going to be safe, and then go ahead and do the job. If you do that, you reduce the accident rate by 95%. That's a big deal. So you can't become distracted in what you're doing. Number two, we do have some people that just walk onto the job site and they avoid every rule of safety that there is. I've never been able to quite understand that because we want them to walk home off the job site at the end of the day. Please remember, we don't do these just for fun. We're concerned about each and every one of you. I don't want anybody to get hurt when they're on the job. Number three, don't take shortcuts. Boy, a lot of people have been hurt taking shortcuts. They think, well, I'm going to get the job done faster. I mean, I know there's been some time limitations that you have. A job is supposed to get done in a certain period of time. However, you've still got to be safe. And, being safe never stopped a job from getting completed on time. So don't take shortcuts. Make sure you follow all the rules and regulations, and as a matter of fact, if you do that, so many studies have been done that show the job that you're doing will be top quality. You'll have a quality job, you'll still get it done on time, and you know what? I think you're going to go home safe right after that. So let's talk about some of these problems that we've seen cropping up in regards to avoidance, prevention of all of these accidents. Because so many guys, when they come onto the job, they rush right on into it. Please, if you would, take a minute. You guys have a strenuous job. You're constantly moving around. And here you go. Let's think about the Chiefs football team. Do they just run out onto the field and start playing? No, they take quite a bit of time warming up, moving their muscles around. When you go onto the job and you're going to be doing some strenuous activities, could you please take just a minute, stretch back and forth, get your back to a place where those muscles are warmed up a little bit, because I want to talk about some of those movements and what they can do for you. So we've all been told about how to avoid back injuries. We bend our knees, right, when we lift, keeping the load close and avoiding any twisting motion back and forth. These safety rules may be appropriate for simple, direct lifting of materials, but what about just back care? How about working in awkward positions and things like that? How about having material here in front of you and you reach down to grab something, and so now you're twisted in a certain direction and you have to pull it up like that? Please remember, the further away something is from your body, the more your arms have to act like levers in lifting things. And if you do bend over to pick something up, it's just not the weight of what you're picking and lifting up. You're also lifting up your torso from the ground too. You have to add that into the equation. So, work tasks that require you to reach or stretch from your body while handling materials can also put a lot of excessive strain on your vertebrae, on those discs and the soft tissues that are in your back. So an awkward position that distorts the spine or puts unbalanced pressure on those discs that you have in your back can strain arms, legs, and back tissues if they're held for any length of time. So what are some of the situations that can put you at risk? I've got a few of them down here. Number one, jobs that require you to bend and reach into bins or containers to retrieve or place material. I mean, people just bend over and they grab something and yank it out, and there they go. You know, you're stretching in the wrong direction or things like that. All of a sudden, we've all felt, you know, that little ouch. Gosh, that hurt. And it gets worse and worse and worse throughout the day, and by the next morning, you're really having a difficult time. Overhead work, where you're reaching up in the air all the time, installing or servicing some type of equipment that's up there, cleaning, pulling wires, whatever it is that you might be doing up with your arms and shoulders up in the air for periods of time, that can hurt your shoulder muscles, hurt your arms and your hands. You got to be careful. Floor or ground level jobs, you're reaching down, you're working on something low towards the ground, and I want to make sure you can still see me here, down near the ground. You do that for any length of time throughout the day, you can strain your back doing that. Work tasks in confined or small spaces, I don't think you hardly ever run into that too much. If you're up on ladders, on work platforms, or any kind of scaffolding where maybe you have to do an overreach, where you have to reach out for something like this and grab a hold of it, pull it back, lift it, try and move something, push something, pull something. Remember, if you're lifting anything at all, you need to get it as close to your body as you possibly can. And then bend down with your knees, grab a hold of it, and then lift it up in the air. If you're going to be removing material, the best way to do that, to get heavy loads away over onto your body, is try not to even lift them at all. I mean, if you've got a forklift or anything else that will raise material up to the power lifting position of your body, which is right here, and then you move it right over onto your chest and shoulders and carry it, and then you bend your knees and set it down, you're going to be much better off if you do it that way, if you possibly can. Repetitive tasks, moving all, back and forth, this way, all day long, twisting your back, loading, handling material up to 30 degrees to 180 degrees from the starting point, leaning, if you got your arms out just like this, 90 degrees up from your body, 180 degrees straight up in the air. That can get to your back and shoulders, and a lot of guys have been having back injuries. So how can you avoid some of this stuff? Well, get things higher up in the air if it's at all possible. If you can do that, try and get it in this area right here. So you might reach for something and you need to get it right up next to your chest. When working overhead, make sure you're standing on a steady platform. You don't want things moving or shifting on you. That interrupts your core throughout the whole day and you're exhausted. If you're working down on the floor, avoid bending over to do work. Squat down, get near to what you're doing, use your leg muscles. If you have to wear some cushioned knee pads when you're down on the ground, on the floor, please do so. Don't hold an awkward position for too long. I totally understand that there's going to be times when you're going to be in an awkward position and you have to do something that way. That happens to me, it's happened to all of us. It just can't be avoided. So make sure you're not in that position for any length of time. Don't ever lift heavy loads that are far from your body's center of gravity. Position your work below the shoulder and above the knees if it's at all possible. Push things rather than pulling them. Don't yank things off to the side. And if you need to wear a back support belt, that might be a good thing to do. You know, it's going to save your spine in many, many cases. So just stop and think about it if you would. Let's use the 5-second rule. What specific awkward positions do you face in your line of work? And how can you work smarter instead of working harder to prevent those injuries? Okay, we've got a quiz here. Let's talk about it just for a second. Sometimes there's more concern for completing a job quickly instead of safely. You know, unfortunately, that's true many, many times. Somebody's telling you, got to get this done, we've got to get this done. But please remember, you can still do it safely. Number 2, with heavy loads of 50 pounds or more, you should give it a good yank from the side so it'll be easier to get it off the ground. True or false? Well, that's false. Walk up, give something a good yank. It might be 100 pounds you're trying to yank, and you know it won't do that. And so what gives is your spine. Daydreaming, drifting off at work, thinking about the weekend, and not paying attention to your work can get you seriously hurt. True. Happens all the time to people. They're not focusing on what's in front of them and what's got to be done. At many job sites, work conditions are constantly changing, and I think that's true for each and every one of you guys. You're building a building. It's going to be changing by the minute there, so you've got to be alert for everything that you do. You don't really have to pay attention to them because you'll probably notice it when you're walking around. Well, we all know that's false. You got to be focused at all times as to what's going on. And then I put some words to think about. I never thought a hammer just falling 10 feet could hurt someone so bad. Be careful with your surroundings and what's going on. Guys, we want accident prevention to be a part of your life. Please be safe, would you? We don't want you getting hurt. We want everybody to go home from the job every night safely. Thanks very much. I'll talk to you next month.